Hi there, and welcome to everybody watching from a miserable Ibrox on and off the pitch now, I suppose. Rangers have defeated Motherwell 1-0 here, but I think the reaction at the end of that game said it all, Craig. Boos at full time. It's been a long, long time since I've been at Ibrox where there's been that reaction, especially since Rangers have won at home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a tough afternoon. I think it's fair to say it was tough for us to watch it. It was tough for the players on the park. It was tough for the manager. I think the reaction that we've seen in the post-match press conference shows that they're not happy with it. But the crux of it is we're not seeing stuff change. Time after time, we're told the players need more. The players need more time to settle in. That we're told that the manager's going to be more consistent with his team selection. We're told that the players are going to get it right on the park, and we're just not seeing it. We're not seeing any evidence that this is getting better. We're not seeing any evidence that it's going to get better, and you can't help get the feeling that this is just almost delaying the inevitable of where this is going to end up, because sooner rather than later, Michael Beale is going to be out the door if performances like this continue.
Yeah, really, really hard to disagree with you there, Craig. I mean, obviously we were pretty fresh out of the post-match press conference from Sam Lammers, and how I think conveniently forgot a few words in English at that time. I've never known a Dutchman to forget so many words in English. And Michael Beale, who was quite fiery that I've seen him. But in terms of talking about the game overall, what did you make of that performance overall? And then we'll maybe get into some specifics after that.
Yeah, I think performance overall, it was nowhere near good enough. Absolutely nowhere near good enough. It was slow. It was laboured. It was passive. A lot of players, both on and off the ball, weren't good enough. It just was not a fun afternoon at all. Positives, we got the win. It's 3 wins in the course of 8 days. 3 clean sheets. And we got 3 points. That's about all of the positives that you can take from that game. Desser's got on the score sheet. I don't think he did much else outside of that one. He did well winning the penalty, which Liam Kelly subsequently said in the post-match press conference that it was a stonewall penalty. So I guess it's just a bit unfortunate we've not seen it back, but it was offside, obviously. Outside of that, there's not a great deal to take from it. Actually, more concerned than anything else. Concerns over why there's no fluidity in the team, concerns over why we struggled in the first 15-20 minutes to make a 5-yard pass or any pass forward to any of our players. That was a real concern. We're not creating good chances at all. We are there's a couple of times early on where we tried to go wide. Motherwell had however many tall central defenders and defensive players that were just heading the ball away for fun. Anytime we tried to go through the middle, it was a really congested. We're used to this. We should be used to this, and we should have a way to kick down the door and score the goals that we need to do. Actually, this feels a bit weird because we won 1-0, right, and we got 3 points, and all we're doing is picking out the negatives of the team. But I think this is the sign of a trend, and I think this is the time, a sign of what a lot of people saw coming a few weeks ago. And the worry is now that we've still got 5 games to go to this next international break. Are we going to win them all? It's tough. It's tough to see us doing so if you continue to have performances like today. And if you don't win them all, then you're just in a world of pain for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think you've summed up how we all feel there, Craig, which I think is fair enough. Looking in terms of that game, I think one of the few positives, we did win. It was a clean sheet, I think that's pretty much all you can say about it. Maybe touch on the goal a wee bit there. I'm still not entirely sure what happened with that goal, but the ball goes out right. Matondo gets it, has a sort of sclaffed shot, and I don't know if it hits off Desser's backside, but we were 1-0 up at that point despite playing very, very poor football, and I really, really expected us to kick on from there, but it just, despite a sort of good goal, it just never came.
Yeah, I think you're being a bit harsh there on that goal in terms of a sclaffed shot and in and out and off Desser's backside. That's absolutely not what happened. It was some nice play actually down the left-hand side. Ball makes its way across the edge of the box to Matondo, who I think his shot might have been going wide, given the size of the deflection that Dessers had. But Dessers reacts quickly, finds the manages to divert the ball into the top corner, and Rangers are 1-up. And I thought it was a good goal, and it was the first really promising piece of attacking play that we'd had. Outside of that, it was we really struggled to string anything together in that first half. It was quite demoralising from that perspective. And you go into half time and you think, right, the way this season's gone, we've been playing one bad half, one good half. The good half just never came today, and I think that's the really concerning part, and it's the really disappointing bit too. And even when you start to look ahead, you're like, right, we've got Livingston in the cup on Wednesday night. I've paid my 22 quid ticket for that one. Am I excited about going? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Am I thinking about watching it on the couch instead of turning up at Ibrox? Potentially. But it's a sign of the times, and I think it's a sign of how Rangers fans are generally feeling at this moment in time. It's a sign of the frustration, the lack of belief in the team, the lack of sign of any style of play. It's all coming together, and it's not a good mix.
No. Agreed. Totally agreed. There's just a few comments that I want to... Normally we sit and we go into the match and we go into detail and, phases of play and what's happened, but there's genuinely not enough to talk about that. We could be talking more about Motherwell's performance, by the way, than Rangers' performance, which is, no disrespect to Motherwell, it's a disgrace. Being at Ibrox, we should be hammering teams like that at home, but we just never saw it. I just want to pick out some comments here. RFC 56 says, our signings have been a waste of money. The winger thing is a joke. Style's absolutely rotten. Again, it's really hard to disagree with that. I have the two players, or there's three players I want to talk about in particular, but Dessers and Lammers were two of them today. What do you make of both of those players? And Cyril Dessers in particular, okay, got the goal, but I'm very patient with players. I like giving them time, and I'm normally the last one to jump on the bandwagon and saying he's absolutely terrible. But I'm really, really sort of heading towards that direction. I have never seen a striker that has been offside so many times in my life. It was about 5 or 6 times that he was offside. Don't you say anything about me being offside?
I wasn't going to say anything about you being offside. I was going to say, did you watch Fashion Sakala for the last 2 years? That's what I was going to say. I think every time you sign a new player or you bring new players into the squad, you're like, the real assessment is, are they better than what was here before? Is Cyril Dessers better than what Antonio Cholak was? No. Is Cyril Dessers likely to score more goals than Antonio Cholak did? Probably not. So I think you're then looking at, right, so we've put double that amount of money that we spent on Cholak into Cyril Dessers, and we're not seeing that benefit. One of the things that we are, I guess, looking at, and Michael Beale raised it in his post-match press conference in terms of the supply and the delivery that these players are getting up front isn't good enough. There's nowhere near any quality in terms of the balls that Dessers getting, the positions that players are putting them in. It's the same to Sam Lammers to a certain extent. Both should score. Well, Dessers does score, but Dessers should score a second, or Lammers should score a first on a couple of occasions, and we need to see those numbers come back or just arrive in the first place. But in terms of new signings, in terms of how impressed or unimpressed I've been with them, the jury's out on them, and it really shouldn't be out on them at this stage, given how many games we've played and how many important games we've played as well.
Yeah, totally agree. It's new signings at this stage of the season. You're kind of, if they're going to be it or not, and there's still massive question marks over some of these guys. I think Sam Lammers was even asked it in the press conferences. The amount of time you've had in Scottish football, should you be aware of the style of Rangers, the expectations of the fans? And he was like, yes. And we didn't see it on that pitch today, not at all. The next question that I want to come in and ask you here is from RFC72. Hi there, RFC72. But the comment says, finishing the game with 5 at the back, 3 centre defensive midfielders is embarrassing. Time wasting for the last 15-20 minutes as well. Stuart Kettlewell touched on it, that surely we've got to, and your, I think, infamous tweet that will go out into the Twitter sphere now. If you haven't seen that, he looks like some sort of Star Wars hologram in there. But he said that was one of the biggest compliments that he could take away from the game, is that the Rangers were time wasting at Ibrox in the last 15-20 minutes. There was some awful attempts to keep that ball down in that right hand corner. But yeah, what do you make of that comment, that we have finished a game with 5 at the back and 3 defensive midfielders. I mean, baffling.
So it's not supposed to be 5 at the back, right? It turned into that because the players were nervy, we weren't keeping possession of the ball. They looked a bit jittery the last 10, 15 minutes or so. We were inviting Motherwell onto us, which is not what we do. Jack Butland was forced into a couple of good saves today, but one within that period where he was, I think it was Ollie Shaw was one-on-one with him and he pulled off a good save. Jack Butland has been a very good signing for us, but he shouldn't be being tested anywhere near as much as he has been so far in a Rangers jersey. I think that the lineup, the persistence of bringing Ryan Jack on as a sub baffles me in a lot of games. Fair enough if you want to give him a bit of game time, but it shouldn't be every single game. He's a player that slows down the play for us. He's not a dynamic midfielder that can swap in and out with the likes of Cifuentes, who actually I thought Cifuentes did quite well today. What didn't set the header alight, but I thought he did okay, and I think you can see the building blocks that are getting there. John Lundstrom was man of the match, I think, deservedly. Borna Barisic had one of his better games for us defensively, and he was up against a pacey winger, and I think when the sub came on, quite a physical winger at that point as well. But these are players that you shouldn't be saying or relying on to have a good game at Ibrox. It should be the forward players that we're talking about. It should be the creative players. And I understand that the likes of Cantwell is out. Confirmation that Tom Lawrence is out until after the next international break, which is it's a calf issue, I believe Michael Beale said in the press conference. It's just, I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason as to why this is what we are seeing on the pitch. The £13 million plus was invested in the summer. We're not seeing the benefits of that. We're not seeing the benefits of good scouting. We're not seeing the benefits of a clear setup from the manager. We're not seeing the benefits of players showing their own quality and playing to their own strengths. Ultimately, if you're a professional footballer, you know what you're good at. And if you're in a team that's struggling, you focus on doing what you're good at. And we're not seeing that at the moment. I think the players know that they're in a difficult moment. I thought actually when we went to obviously Matondo went off, he got a kick to the knee, according to Michael Beale, and he'll be out for, I think he might be out for a long time as well. He's away for a scan, I think, after the next few days at least. But we went to three at the back with when Suter came on to replace him. Actually, I thought Suter, Goldson and Davies did really well at that point. I thought they played well. Suter and Davies were on the ball more. Connor Goldson was dominant in the air as much as he could, but it was what's in front of him, and it's the amount of effort that was going as well. I mean, we've not even come on to Scott Wright. I assume you're going to ask me about Scott Wright at some point, but Scott Wright is a right winger who we've today decided to play on the left, but not even keep him on the wing that then cuts him in. We've decided to play Scott Wright out wide, but also then tell him to move into the middle of the park and almost play that number 8 role, potentially moving more up to the number 10 sort of position. But that's not where his strength is. Scott Wright's pace should be an asset. It should be something that we are able to take advantage of, a bit like Sima, a bit like Matondo. These should be real assets to us, and we are just not managing it at all. And we need to find solutions. We need to start being convincing. We need to look confident. We're winning games, and it's hard to argue with that as a rationale. But today was the first time in a press conference that I've seen Michael Beale look genuinely scunnered by it all. He was genuinely, normally he's quite brash is the wrong word, but he's quite confident. He's quite defensive of his style and his players, and he's like you say, direct. Today he was not. Today he was angry. Today he said that they had the honest words with the players. There's only so many times I think you can have honest words, and that they're going to land. We might well be past that stage already with these players. There's a clear disconnect between what the manager is wanting them to do, assuming today's performance is not what he is asking of them, and what the players are delivering. So why is that? What are we missing? Why do you think that is, and there is that disconnect?
I've no idea. Do you know, it was something, I mean, you've absolutely blown through about 16 points of my agenda there, so the podcast is about 10 minutes shorter than what it normally is, but I honestly don't know. It was something I was going to come on to ask you in terms of, it was so noticeable when Kettlewell was in there, and and Liam Kelly was in there. There was one word that got mentioned more than any, and it was buy-in. The players are buying into what I'm doing. The players are buying into the way we're training. The players are buying into the way that we're playing. I don't think that we have that quite yet. I said it in a podcast a couple of weeks ago as well. I still feel that there are some players that are on that pitch that turn out for us that need reminded that they play for Glasgow Rangers at times. I'm just not. I don't know why the passing's so bad. I mean, having seen the training videos, I should say, see the way, I know I keep harking on about this as well, but see, having watching all the pre-season stuff, all the training videos, hearing bits and bobs from people in and around the club, I don't understand. It's like we are training to play a way that we never come up against those teams. You can see it when we've got pace in the wings and we're cutting the ball on the inside. That's partly how we got the goal. It was nearly how we got the penalty, quick, direct through the middle. Well, I don't understand it. I mean, the back five as well, I can totally get why he's gone to a back five, but I was expecting Barisic and Tav to be further forward. I disagree with you in some points in terms of that. You're right, Ben Davies, Connor Goldson and John Suter were all passing the ball between the three of them, but it wasn't going up the pitch. It was just going in between the three of them, and it was about 2 minutes, and we had the ball when Motherwell would press. We played perfectly onto them. I don't know what it is. There's clearly issues going on behind the scenes that need discussed, and even the other thing I was going to say, sorry, was I don't know why Barisic is on at left back. I know you put a tweet in that he was the best player, or you felt that he was the best player out in the pitch today. But for me, that was Yilmaz should have been playing there, and he would have been far more suited to that style of play in terms of five at the back. But what do you think about the point in terms of the buy-in and in terms of the players going? Do you think the players have bought into Beale's system and his style of play?
I don't think I've seen any evidence that they have. I don't think I've seen anything that gives me confidence that yes, they know what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, maybe they're not quite in the right positions yet. Maybe they're not quite playing the ball quickly enough. But I'm not seeing any evidence of that at all. I don't. Time and again, we have been asking what system does Michael Beale want to play? How does he want to set us up? I think we've seen a clear change since the international break in terms of he's now kind of playing those, instead of going a straight kind of 4-3-3. Before the international break, he was experimenting with two up top and one behind, or one up top and two behind. I think he's clearly gone for the two sitting midfielders, three in front of them supporting the attackers, and then the sort of focal point striker who today would have been Cyril Dessers. At times you're seeing some positives from that one, but we're not seeing enough of it. And like you said earlier on, when Goldson, Davies and Suter all had the ball and they're passing it fine between them, it's not really their fault. It's the movement and the availability of players ahead of them to make space for them to pass to. These guys can pass the ball between them all day. We could play 90 minutes and have 100% possession with the three of them and Butland playing the ball between each other. But that's not what we want. That's not what football is about. We need to get better. We need better movement. We need the players to understand what they're doing. But it's just, for me, it's just not there at this moment in time.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a lot of things wrong about today, and just that, I don't know, after such a encouraging performance second half against Real Betis and a good win, it just, even though we've won today, it's just been brought right back down to earth, and I don't know, I just feel totally scunnered again. But I'll end the podcast and ask. There was a roundabout question. I think both the manager and Sam Lammers were asked about it. Not this directly, but how the hell do we make that better? Generally, how do we make that better? How do we get buy-in from the players, Craig? I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me? I thought you were about to tell me. I am not the man with all the solutions. I am not a tactical genius. I can give my opinion on here, strongly or not. But I think there's so much wrong that it's difficult to pinpoint just one thing that we need to do to get better. There's loads of comments coming about, is the handbrake off, and the handbrake is fully deployed, and that's something that's going to keep coming back time and time again to almost haunt Michael Beale at this stage. We're seeing the opposite of what we expected to see from a Michael Beale team. What we saw in the last 6 months of the season, last season, gave me hope. It gave me positivity. It gave me we were being quick. We were being inventive in attack. We were being creative. We were scoring good goals. We were apart from against Celtic, we were playing well and we were beating anyone that came before us. Now that is not. Now that is not the case. We look lethargic. We look slow. We look pedestrian. We are letting Motherwell be the better team against us at Ibrox, and being lucky to come away with a victory. Liam Kelly said in his press conference, he was like, anyone that was there today would agree that Motherwell deserved something from that game. It's difficult to argue with that, but that's a very sorry way for us to be, and it's a very sorry state for us to be in. It feels like we are just at the end of September or heading towards the end of September, and we are clinging on to staying relevant in this season, and that is absolutely not where we need to be. I said at the start of the podcast that it feels like we are on the journey towards the inevitable in terms of fans are just waiting for a slip up or the teams to make a mistake, and they'll jump all over Michael Beale like they did during the last international break. I don't think and even at this stage I can't even argue against it that much, because I think a lot of people are fully justified in what they're feeling. We sat and watched that for 90 minutes today, and it's the first time in quite a while where I've been bored at a Rangers game. And looking around us, looking at supporters that were sitting behind us, looking at other people in the gantry, everyone was just bored out their mind, and that's not what we want from a Rangers team. First of all, we want a winning Rangers team. We want a winning Rangers team that is lifting shiny silver things in front of us at the end of the season. That is what we want. We've got a chance in the League Cup. We're clinging on by our fingertips in the league, and the Scottish Cup's obviously still to come at the turn of the calendar year. So we've got a chance now to make the changes. We've got a chance to recover it, but it feels like a long way, and it almost feels at the stage now where it's too much needs to change for us to be successful this season.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you and I were talking about it in the press room there. Eerie feelings of deja vu, isn't it, from last season and Van Bronckhorst's tenure at the club? It's just like that Hearts game midweek all over again. I feel this with the reaction of the fans. Just, I think says it all. But just before we go, what are you expecting now on Wednesday? What must this team do? What must Michael Beale do to win around the supporters? Because it has to happen very quickly now, Craig.
What am I expecting, or what do I think will actually happen? So what I hope will happen is that we will free off the shackles a little bit, take that handbrake off as was said, and we will play with freedom. We will play with speed. We will play with attacking ingenuity. What do I think will happen? More of the same as today. I think it'll be a stodgy performance against Livingston. I think it'll be a struggle. I think I realise I'm not doing the game on Wednesday. I'll be at my season ticket seat, but it'll be a stodgy performance, and yourself and Ross will be here after the Livingston game, having pretty much the same reaction. One of the main things that I took away from today was that we were told by Michael Beale that he was going to be more consistent in his lineup selection. We were going to see more consistency in that. The front three changed completely. There's no way we are going to build consistency or build those links between the players and build that relevance and build that familiarity and how they play. He said in his post-match press conference that both Sima and Roof had slight knocks, and he wanted to keep them fresh for Wednesday. Yes, it's a tough schedule, but we should have a squad that is good enough to cope with that kind of schedule. We have a squad that is 30 plus players. We've effectively probably got 3 starting 11s that we should be able to play. We are not seeing that. We are not seeing any of the depth that we think is there. Yes, there are injuries. You've got Cantwell out, you've got Raskin out, you've got Lawrence out, you've got Matondo out now. But we need to deal with it. We can't go about moaning about it. We were in this situation last year in the Champions League. We had James Sands and Leon King starting a Champions League group stage game at centre half. I mean, we should have learned from those situations. We cannot stay in situations where injuries become such a big factor. We need to be better. We need to have that backup. We need to have more of a consistent quality across our squad, and it's just not there at this moment in time.
Yeah, that's it. It'll be really interesting to see how Rangers line up on Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see how many supporters are here on Wednesday as well, because I just you heard that, you know, when people were leaving, that it was just like yourself humming and hawing about being here on Wednesday, and it's, yeah, it'll be a difficult one. Got to start that game well, but yeah, I think that just about sums it up. And we didn't even get on to John Lundstrom actually playing pretty well today. I thought that maybe the only other positive from the game. But listen, thank you to everybody tuning in and watching. I believe the viewers and listeners out there will be able to catch you tomorrow, Craig, live at
8:30. You tested me there. Yeah, live. We'll be live at 8:30 tomorrow night to try and dig a bit deeper into this and then start to look forward to the Livingston game. But it's I'm not sure how we're going to pick the bones out of this, but that's a job for Kieran and JB to do. So make sure you tune in at 8:30 tomorrow and join the conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure they're absolutely delighted that they agreed to be on that one after today. But listen, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Your comments, as always. I did not think there was so many car references that could be attributed to Michael Beale. That handbrake off comment will haunt his whole Rangers career, I think. But listen, thank you to all watching, tuning in, and have a good as good a Sunday night as you can have, everybody.